Originally, I was gonna post a Scooby-Doo recap video of all the times that they did a racing episode or movie. Since this is basically the last year that all the Scooby stuff is going to be on Max, then I decided to post the ones that I want. I know I could just wait and see where they go. I don't want to risk it just in case they don't go anywhere. I know I could also just buy them all on YouTube or buy all the DVDs, but that's quite expensive. So, yeah. Anyway, let's just get into the video's topic. Who do you think is the sixth member of the gang? Scrappy? No, everyone hates him for some reason. Scooby-Dumb? He's too dumb and he's not in enough episodes. I would love to say that the Mystery Machine, he is there when they need to become a giant mech thing to face a giant. He is there to save them from a flooding car garage. He's even the love interest for Fred. The members of the gang become the villains a few times, like Shaggy in Big Monster Little Tokyo, and then in Frankencreepy, Velma becomes hypnotized to think she's Frankenstein. So, let's talk about the 2 times that the Mystery Machine was the problem. First up, in What's New Scooby-Doo, it's mean, it's green, it's a mystery machine. This episode starts off with Shaggy and Scooby walking after watching a movie. Then we see the mystery machine glow green and move on its own. The boys move out of the way before getting ran over. The boys then run into the smoothie shop where the trio are and tells them what they saw. They go out and see the van parked, and now they are blamed for being delusional. While they're driving to go back home, the van takes over and they almost crash. They then take it to Murph's auto shop. Murph wants to buy the van off of them. The van drives off, but leaves an oil trail. They follow it to the Mystery Kids' house. The Mystery Kids used to own the Mystery Machine. Then we meet the teen kids, Mandy and Andy. Then we learn of the real owner, Flash Flanagan. They can't get an interview with him because he's gone for good. Shaggy makes a conclusion.
Right now I know what's wrong with the Mystery Machine. The ghost of Flash Flanagan is haunting it.
Then, as they're walking out, we learn that the fan has always been flowers and those colors. Velma runs into Randy, the Kevin Jonas of the Mystery Kids. Or would it be more of a Frankie, since he was never on stage with them? Because Kevin was at least on stage. Anyway, he wasn't mentioned by Susan, becoming suspect number 1, because he lives in their shadow. The gang walk down the street. The van comes around a corner and chases them down an alley. Fred spots a ladder. He throws a box of Scooby snacks, having Scooby jump for them, landing on the ladder, bringing it down for the other. They nearly miss the van's collision. The van drives off, looking beat up. They follow the van, but lose it. They drive by, and they go inside to talk to Randy, and get caught up with robotics. Randy keeps building the suspicion that he makes robots. They go to Murph's, and realize
it wasn't until we got the Mystery Machine back from Murph that it started acting funny.
Murph becomes suspect number 2. They also find out he's a closeted Mystery Kids fan. Then we get a history lesson on Flash Flanagan and his headstone. They head to the graveyard on a bike, a scooter, skates, and a skateboard. Mandy and Randy attend his hut. They want to follow, but not before the van rolls up with Mystery Kids music playing. They scatter, cueing our song and chase. At the end of the song and chase, Shaggy gets kidnapped by the van, and they chase it down. They get blamed for reckless driving, but they get let go since no one was hurt. The gang go to the Mystery Kids rehearsal. Randy is basically forced to be there.
My mom told me that if I didn't set up a wireless controlled lighting display for the show, she'd stop paying my tuition.
They spot Murph and they talk. Randy gets blamed for dropping a light. They do a seance to have Flash speak for himself, or have the culprit come clean. The van leaves the impound lot. Daphne gives us all their possible motives.
Was it Andy or Mandy to hype the Mystery Kids? Randy to get revenge on his ungrateful siblings? Murph to get us to sell?
Then the van rolls up. The boys run as everyone else hides. Velma drops a lead curtain over it so the person can't control it anymore, and Fred lifts the tablecloth, revealing. Velma gives us her motive and her plan.
Susan wanted the mystery kids to be back on top of the music world, so she came up with this publicity stunt to get attention for their concert.
That's why she helped Randy with his homework, so she could learn to control the mystery machine with wireless commands.
When the mystery machine was at Merck's for repairs, Susan planted a webcam and receiver in the dashboard.
That meant she could control the mystery machine from anywhere.
Why is that gooey greenish glow?
Relax, Shaggy. They're just green-colored Christmas tree lights hooked into the battery.
Mandy and Andy were at the grave because they miss Flash Flanagan and they wanted to pay their respects before their comeback. The kids quit and apologize to Randy. The gang go to the drive-in movies and Scooby scares them with animation error and the credits roll. My thoughts on this episode. It was a very cheap episode. In the sense that there was no other cars driving around or no other cars parked on the street. Also, it's never the obvious one. So Randy was off of my radar at the beginning. This is also one of my favorite shows, so if I recognize someone, and then I'll probably remember that they're the culprit. Because as soon as I saw their mom, I didn't really catch her name. And I loved getting scenes of them walking, because they could have just cut from one scene to the next and just said that they walked. But I love that they got the walking scenes, mainly because it shows us how much they need the mystery machine in a sense. But then it's also just chase scenes. And also, when did she have time to put Christmas lights on the bottom of the van? So it's just weird. I know it's a cartoon and I shouldn't be thinking about it this way. Whatever. On to our next episode from Be Cool Scooby-Doo, Ghost in the Mystery Machine. This episode starts off with the gang running in a museum. They hide, but then that gets destroyed, and they come face to face with the van. It drives at them right into our title sequence. After the intro, we get a time card reading 6 hours earlier. They drive to Velasco, but they've already solved a mystery there, so they think that there's not going to be another one. Velma then jinxes it by saying,
Besides, the odds are already astronomical that every town we go to has a mystery. It's mathematically impossible that a town we've already been to would have a second mystery.
a detective comes to the van and says,
We got a real mystery on our hands again.
Detective Rowan was promoted from officer thanks to the gang catching the broccoli monster. So, yeah, you won't recognize him because even though he says thanks to you, the broccoli monster doesn't exist. So you didn't miss an episode. Then Mr. Meldon comes out, who tells us what happened. A relic was tampered with. Everyone gets jump scared by Dr. Blum coming out of a bush and telling us of the Ogdemira. It had an evil force imprisoned within it. The gang gets shown inside. Velma then gives us a history lesson on the Ogdemora.
Legend says an ancient village was being terrorized by an evil force that could inhabit anything, living or inanimate. A holy man used a sacred book to trap the evil force inside the Ogdemora, never to be released.
The boys run off as the others find the Ogdemora. Dr. Blum tells us it will keep jumping until it finds something powerful to possess. We get a POV of the evil force as they explain the reason of theft. The evil force possesses a suit of armor. Velma then finds the book on her phone and it's at the museum. The armor rises, Daphne defeats it. Then it goes into a robot arm and grabs Daphne. Daphne slices it. Then it goes into a lion statue thing and chases them out. Evil Force makes his way outside and possesses the mystery machine. Scooby gets blamed for shutting the door on Shaggy and pushing Fred's chair. Daphne thinks about flying, and then the van goes into a helicopter mode, even though Fred didn't press it. Fred drops the floor and everyone drops. They land, and so does the van. Scooby realizes
The evil force.
The van drives at them and they dive out of the way, barely dodging the van. Fred tries to talk it down, but that ultimately fails. They hide in a cave. Velma carries them all to the museum. Fred loses hope about beating the mystery machine. They hide as a security guard and Mr. Meldon walk by talking about a security firm. After they walk away, they question Mr. Meldon. They find the book. Then Shaggy jinxes it by saying,
We seem to have lost the mystery machine. Maybe it's not quite as dangerous an enemy as Fred thinks.
Then, with a quick black screen and a museum shot, we are back to the moment from before the intro. Now we see they dive out of the way, it gets itself stuck, and they escape. Outside is one of Daphne's mother's drag racing cars. Fred can't drive stick, so they swap. Daphne drives off. Velma finds, but then loses, the incantation. The van spins them out and tries many things, but misses. They drive down the canyon or cavern. Daphne drifts through a gap. Van flies around and shoots a missile, blowing up the car. With another speech from Daphne, Fred is inspired to get his van back. Fred gets on top of it and fights back. Fred finds a device and unattaches it as they're going to a canyon. They fall in, and Fred scares the whole gang by not coming back right away, but then he flies up. Velma follows the signal of the device. Fred uses a claw to trap them. Fred removes the boulder to reveal. Fred and Velma give us his motive.
Lori Walsh tried to get Meldon to switch to her security company for his lab, but he balked at the price. Desperate to expand her clients, Lori paid Dr. Bloom to make it appear Meldon's security was not up to par.
He rigged objects by remote control so they appeared possessed, and then utilized common Wi-Fi frequencies to transition from controlling one object to another. By making it seem like an evil force had been freed, he knew Meldon would see how one security lapse could ruin it.
Rowan introduced us as great mystery solvers. Concerned we'd uncover his plan, Bloom decided to get rid of us.
Then Fred gets a text from a blocked number. Then we get a zoom out of someone watching the game. My thoughts on this episode. I liked the start of it showing us them running from something and then where they slowly reveal that it's the mystery machine. I thought it was just another ending of a crime, and I would have been wrong from an earlier statement from another video. I also loved seeing an episode start off with an ending of another. From what I know, no other episode does this. And then I also like that they cut back to it after we learn what's happened to this point. I like the last episode better because they had wheels to make it more believable that they get away from the monster. But then they just get a little bit of a head start in this one, and then they're clearly away from the monster. But then Fred says there's no way we can outrun this thing. But even though you had the same exact amount of window from earlier in the episode to outrun it, so it was just confusing the way they said that. And I like the setup for the possible Professor Huh storyline. So those are the two Mystery Machine Monster episodes. Which one is your favorite? Mine, personally, is the classic What's New episode. It's just more nostalgic for me. Hope you guys like this video because I'll be taking a back seat on posting Scooby-Doo reviews. I might keep making them but release them later just so I don't spam my channel with reviews. Yeah, because I like posting more. I don't like just talking about Scooby-Doo. I want to diversify and talk about other stuff that's on my brain and things that irritate me. I'll record them, but I won't post them. So, yeah, just so I can have them before they go away forever. So, until the next Scooby-Doo recap, click here for the playlist of Scooby-Doo recaps. And then I'll click here for my most recent video. And then subscribe so you don't miss out on the next Scooby-Doo review. Peace.